Hello students, today we will learn how to create a new file and how to write some content onto the file and how to read the existing content from the file and how to open a file in a different file opening modes. Nothing but how to open a file in different ways. So I will take a programming example and explain you all these. Okay, I will take an example. I will write obj is equal to open. So we are using open function to create the file as well as open the file. I will pass two arguments to this function. The first one is file name. I will write file1.txt. So this is the file name I am going to create, and I am opening this file to write something onto the file. So I will write w. So here w is the opening mode. So we will discuss about opening modes later. Now understand that I am creating the file and I am opening this file only to perform writing operation, so that I am using W. So here I am creating a text file. So I don't want to store this file in the C drive. So instead of that, I want to store it on D drive. So I have to mention the path. So what I am going to do next, I'll go to D drive. I will create a folder. I will name it as my files. If you don't want to do this, if you want to store the file in the same location where your Python is installed, you can skip this step. But if you want to store all the files in the same folder, you can follow these steps. Okay, so what is the folder name? My files. I am going to mention here my files. Then write backward slash. So what I am doing here, on D drive, there is a folder my files. Inside my files, I am going to create a text file. The name of the text file is file1. And I am opening this file only to perform some writing operation. So once if you do this, it will create a file and that address will be stored in obj. So obj is nothing but a file object. It contains the address of the memory location where the file is stored or created. So I will run the program. So file is successfully created, so that I have not got any error. Now I can communicate with the file through the object obj. I'll write obj, then have write function that helps us to write some content onto the file. I will write I am learning file handling programs. So I'll run the program again. The program is successfully executed. Now I will go to D drive, go to my files. See, file is created. I'll open the file, but you cannot see anything. You can see a blank, there is nothing. So we have written something onto the file, but that is not there on the file when we opened it. Why? Because that is still not written onto the file. So now we have one option. We can either write obj.close. So when we close the file, whatever is there on the file buffer will be written onto the file. So what is the problem if you use object.close? So you cannot perform any other operation on the file using obj because it is closed here. No more operation can be performed. So instead of writing object.close, you can write object.flush. So either you can use object.close. So what is the problem if you use object.close? So you cannot perform any other action using the same object because it is already closed. So instead of that, you can use object.flush. I will run the program. I go to the file, refresh it once. Now I will open the file. See, the content is written onto the file. Now let's see how to read the content from the file. I will write obj.read. So it will give you an error. Let's see what is the error. I'll run the program. So it gives an IO error that unsupported operation, not readable. So let me close this. The problem is we have opened the file only to perform writing operation. So we cannot perform reading operation. So let me change the program. I will just remove everything. So instead of write, I will make it as read. Now we are opening the file only to perform reading operation. Obj dot read, right? Print. So it will print whatever is read from the file. Run the program. See, it is printing, I am learning the file handling program. So content is read from the file. So now let me show you something. I'll write here obj dot write, then I will write new content. Then I'll write obj dot close. So I will run the program. Program is successfully executed. I will go to file and see the content. So what happened? So the old content is replaced. So you are using W mode, that is only to perform writing operation. So if you use W mode, so what happens? If there is no file named file1.txt inside my file folder, it will create a new file. If the file already exists, then it will replace the old file with new file. Now I want to create the file, open the file, write some content onto the file, then using the same object, I want to read the content of the file. How is that possible? In such case, we can use W plus file opening mode. So this will open the file to read and write the content as well. So I am writing some content. I am learning file handling. So using the same object, I will read the content of the file. Now I will run the program. So you can see nothing is displayed. There is a problem actually. Why? Because I am writing some content onto the file. So this content I am learning file handling is written onto the file. So what happens after the content is written, file object is standing at the last. Just imagine, think that this cursor is a file object that is moving from starting to ending. Once if the content is written, that file object will stand here. So from here you are reading the content. From where? From the last position. From last position it is trying to read the content forward. There is nothing next to the last position. So it is not able to read anything. So we will learn about something called as seek function. Anyway, we will discuss about seek function in detail later. But for your understanding, I am explaining now itself. Let me add a function seek, obj dot seek. Then I write 0. So what will this function do? This function will move the file pointer to the 0th location. So which character is at the 0th location? I is at 0th location. Now it will start reading from the 0th location from the beginning. So let me add the print statement. Print, and I will run the program. Okay, it is reading. I am learning file handling. Now we will go to the theory part of this. So we have open function to open a file in Python. So what is the syntax of opening a file? Write file object, then open function, pass file name as well as access mode. If you are storing the file in some other location, kindly mention the path of the location. Access mode, there are different types of access mode. We will be learning it. So we learned W mode, R mode and W plus mode. So what was the example? So I'm creating a file object. I will name it as fobj. Then open function, I will pass a file name and I'm opening the file only to perform writing operation. So when you execute this command, what happens? A file object will be created. That file object is linked to the file. So this file object is acting as an intermediator between the user and the file. So here this is opened only to perform writing operation. So open function returns file object which establishes a link between the program and the data file stored in the permanent storage. So file object can be used to transfer data to and data from the file. So by calling the functions defined in the Python's IO modules, the file name should be name of the file that has to be opened. If the file is not in the current working directory, then we need to specify the complete path of the file along with its name. So we already specified like d colon backslash my files backslash file1.txt. If the file does not exist, The above statement creates a new empty file and assigns it the name we specify in the statement. So we have mentioned the file opening mode as W, so that if the file does not exist, it will create a new file. So if you are opening the file with a different opening mode, it has a different output. So access mode or nothing but opening mode. So access mode is an optional argument that represents the mode in which the file has to be accessed by the program. It is also referred to as a processing mode, how we process the file. Mode means the operation for which the file has to be opened. So we know that opening mode or access mode is optional. So if you don't pass any argument for access mode, it will take read mode by default. So look at this. We have attributes of files. We have file object dot closed, file object dot mode, file object dot name. So let us check these ones with the help of a program. Object 1 is equal to open. Okay, you have to just mention the file name and location. Alright, I will write D colon, then my files, then I will write file2.txt. So what I will do, I will not pass any accessing mode. So by default access mode is read mode. So I'll just press enter. So access mode is read mode. So the file does not exist. You want to read the content of the file. Is that possible? No. So it shows the error, file not found error. I will copy this, paste it over here. I will mention write mode and I'll write object 1.flush. Now go to the folder, check it once the file is created, but it is an empty file. What you understood from this? If you open a file in read mode, if the file does not exist, it will not create a new file. It will show error. So what is the error? File not found error. So if you open a file using write mode and if the file does not exist, it will create a new file. Now I am writing some content onto the file. Object 1 dot write Python programming is fun. So can you see this? It returns something called 25. So what is that? So write function actually returns number of character that is written onto the file. If you count this, you will get the number of character as 25. Now I have to use flush method. Now after writing, I have to write flush method. Now it will flush onto the file. Let's go to the folder, check the file once. So we have the content, Python programming is fun. Now let's check the file object attributes. Object 1 dot closed. It shows false. It means object 1 is still opened. It is not closed. Now I will check the mode. Object 1 dot mode. So it shows that object 1 is opened in writing mode. I can write object 1 dot name. So it shows us the entire path of the file with the file name as well as file extension. Here the file name is file2 and .txt is the extension of the file or nothing but the type of the file. Let us learn about file opening modes. What are the different ways we can open a file? I cannot give programming examples for each and everything because some concept yet to be learned. For example, operations on binary files we have not learned, so I cannot show you an example. Those examples will be discussed in the upcoming videos. So the first mode is W mode. So we already learned about the W mode. It opens the file in write mode. If the file already exists, all the contents will be overwritten. If the file does not exist, then a new file will be created. I am not explaining it again and again. So once if you open a file using W mode, the file pointer will be at the beginning of the file. W plus or plus W. So W plus is used to open a file to perform reading operation as well as writing operation. So you can write either W plus or plus W. Both are fine. So it opens the file in both write and read mode. It truncates the file if it already exists. It creates a new file if it does not exist. It truncates all the contents of old file and open it as a new file. Once if you open a file using W plus mode, the file pointer will be at the beginning of the file. Next we have WB mode. So B represents binary file. So it opens the file for writing in binary format. So it truncates the file if it already exists. It creates a new file if the file does not exist. So WB is same as W. W is used for text file. WB is used for binary file. So remaining operation is same. So file pointer will be at the beginning of the file. So WB plus, so it opens the file in read, write and binary mode. If the file already exists, the content will be overwritten. If the file does not exist, then the new file will be created. It opens a binary file to perform read and write operation. Then we have write mode. So it opens the file in read only mode. That is the default mode. If you don't specify any opening mode, by default it will take read mode. R plus or plus R mode. It opens the file in both read and write mode. So how is it different from W plus mode or plus W mode? Both opens the file to perform read and write operation. But if you open a file in W plus mode, if the file does not exist, it will create a new file. If you open the file in R plus mode, if the file does not exist, it will not create a new file. It will show error. So it raises an IO error if the file does not exist. What about RB? It opens the file in binary and read-only mode. It is same as R, but it deals with binary file. What about RB plus or plus RB? It is same as R plus or plus RB. It opens a binary file to perform both read and write operation. So it raises an error if the file does not exist on the location. So what about RB plus or plus RB mode? It is same as R plus or plus R mode. It will open the binary file to perform both read and write operation. If the file does not exist at the specified location, it will give you an error. Now look at append modes. You know what is appending? A file is already there, it has some content. You want to write some extra content onto that. Nothing but you are appending some extra content. For that we are using append mode. Because if you open a file using W mode again and again, the old data will be truncated or old data will be lost. So if you want to retain the old data and add some more content onto that, then you have to use append mode. So we are using A for append mode. It opens the file in append mode. If the file does not exist, then a new file will be created. If the file exists, it will append some more content onto that. If the file does not exist, it will create a new file. So if the content does not exist, it will act same as write mode. Once if you open a file using append mode, the file pointer will be at the end of the file. So look at this. You have a file. There is some content. If you open a file using append mode, the file pointer will be at the end of the file, so that you can add some more content onto this. So what is A plus or plus A mode? So you know that if you open a file using append mode, you can perform only writing operation. You can't read the content of the file. So if you want to open a file that already exists, you want to add some content onto the file and you want to read the content of the file, then you have to use A plus mode. So it opens the file in append mode and read mode. If the file does not exist, then it will create a new file. So what is AB? So we know that B stands for binary. So it will open a binary file to perform append operation. So what is AB plus or plus AB? It is same as A plus or plus A. If you open a file in AB plus mode, we can perform append and reading operation on binary files. It opened the file for reading and appending in binary format. It inserts data at the end of the file and it creates a new file if the file does not exist at the specified location. So we will see an example for append mode also. So we go to the folder my file. We have a file2. I'll open it. There is some content in the file. I'll close the file. I will open the same file, that is file2. So obj is equal to open, specify the location, d my files. So what is the name of the file? file2.txt. Now if I pass writing mode or W mode, it will replace the old file. The whole content will be lost. What I will do? I will open it using append mode. Now I am going to write something onto the file. obj.write extra content. The write function returns number of characters written onto the file. Now I will write obj.flush. Okay, so we can go to the folder, go to the file, check, see extra content. Already we had some content. Python programming is fun. Then it will not go to a new line. From there itself it is writing the content. If you want to write the new content in the new line, you have to include /n. For example, I will write some more content. obj.write /n new line. Press enter. obj.flush. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. It includes /n also, so that it shows 9. I'll flush it. Go to the folder, open the file. New line has come in the new line. Now if I write object.read, what happens? obj.read, it shows unsupported. So it shows unsupported operation. For that you can use EA+. So I will open the file with append plus mode. Now where is the file pointer? The file pointer is at the end of the file. I will try to read the content of the file now. It shows a null because file pointer is at the end of the file. I will move the file pointer to beginning of the file. Now the file pointer is at the beginning of the file because seek returns 0. Again I will copy this, paste it. Look at this. It prints Python programming is fun, extra content. Then we have a /n that represents the new line. Then it prints new line. I hope everybody understood how to create a file, read and write the content of the file. We have learned very basic way of reading and writing the data. In the next class, we will be learning different ways of reading and writing the data. If my video is helpful, kindly like my video, share the video and subscribe my channel for the next updates.